The Universe Survival arc is shaping out to be one of the most anticipated arcs in Dragon Ball Super, having the wager of every individual universe on the line. For each individual universe that loses this tournament will cease to exist, for that is the price that every individual universe must pay if they lose their respective rounds in this tournament, hence why this arc is called Universe Survival. Now, there are certain things that many of us fans want to see in this arc that has been poorly executed by Dragon Ball Super over the last year and a half. Now, as we already know, we've learned about the gods of destructions of every individual universe having to be attending this Omni tournament, and even prior to this tournament happening, Whis even stated that there are gods of destructions out there who exist who are a lot more violent than Beerus and Champa are. So you have to ask yourself, is there going to be a conflict of interest? What if one universe gets ahead of the other? Then will the gods of destruction that preside over that losing universe have a conflict with the gods of destruction that preside over that winning universe? And I do think that in this particular arc, we ought to see more of a conflict between the gods. If you yourselves were placed as a god of destruction over a presiding universe and your universe was destroyed, you have to ask yourself as to how you would react to being dethroned of that particular universe. Your position as god of destruction is no longer valid. You are no longer entitled of being a god of destruction over a universe that doesn't exist. So I do think that one of many things that ought to happen in this arc is seeing the conflict between the gods. Similar to Beerus and Champa, we see how their egos began to clash during Universe 6 versus Universe 7, and although we do understand that there most likely won't be a direct confrontation between one god and another, we do understand that mostly every single universe is a parallel reflection as to the other. For example, Universe 6 and Universe 7 are direct parallels of one another, sort of like a mimic reflection of one universe to another. So I do think that other gods of destructions ought to have a similar relationship in seeing conflict between the gods, because again, if you think about the total annihilation of one particular universe, then that one particular god of destruction ceases to be the god of that universe that doesn't exist anymore. So seeing a conflict of interest, I think more so than ever, would spice up the dynamic between the gods of destructions. Now, many people out there are wondering if there are going to be fighters out there even stronger than Goku and Vegeta. Presumably so, yes. And I think that we may actually get to see fighters even stronger than Hit. So I do think what needs to be added on to this tournament are fighters out there that can easily defeat the likes of Hit and Goku with complete and utter ease. Now, we do know that Champa will be relying on Hit, and most likely we will be seeing the exact same characters seen during Universe 6 versus Universe 7 return for this tournament, or at least for Champa's side. So one can only assume if there are going to be characters out there that are going to be far ahead of Goku and Vegeta, and presumably even Hit. So I do think that one of the aspects that needs to be added onto this arc is seeing fighters out there that are capable of defeating someone like Hit and Goku with complete and utter ease. Why? Because that gives someone like Vegeta, that gives someone like Goku, even that gives someone like Hit, Gohan, and everyone else that's a part of this tournament a reason to keep on training, a reason to keep on improving, a reason to not be complacent, and a reason to find their purpose in life and becoming the strongest in their universe. So I do think that fighters need to be added in to where they pose an incredible threat, although you can't have a particular universe be heavily OP'd because that'll take away from the dynamic of the actual tournament. But I do think that specific fighters need to be added in to where they pose a great threat to the likes of Vegeta and Goku. Even though they may have the ability to channel in Super Saiyan Blue, we need to see fighters very similar to Hit in Universe 6 versus Universe 7, to where we get to see fighters easily be able to combat the likes of Super Saiyan Blue, which allows our characters to push themselves to new heights. Poor storytelling was definitely a problem in Dragon Ball Super, so during this particular arc, we're all hoping to see a better character development and story writing for each individual character, i.e. Gohan, Majin Buu, Android 17, Android 18, Kuririn, Master Roshi, Tien Shinhan, and various others as well. Now, the one dynamic that a lot of people have been talking about over the last couple of days and weeks was Gohan, and although he may be overlooked right now, Gohan is a half-breed. Half-breeds have greater potential than pure-blood Saiyans in exceeding purebloods in power, i.e. Gohan and Trunks are people that can exceed people like Goku and Vegeta in terms of power. Does Gohan have infinite potential? Of course he does. Can he reach those heights? Probably not, but however, in this particular arc, I do think that to make up for Gohan's loss in Dragon Ball Super, he ought to be redeemed by having a moment very similar to Vegeta during Universe 6 versus Universe 7, i.e. have Gohan cast a lot of eliminations before he himself gets eliminated. Do I believe that Gohan ought to be the sole survivor? No. Do I believe that Gohan ought to have a moment to where he proves himself to his father and his friends and his family? Yes, because so far Gohan has been overlooked and overshadowed by many characters in Dragon Ball Super. The same goes for Piccolo, who is a strategist in Dragon Ball Z and once went from being one of the most brilliant fighters in Dragon Ball Z to being reduced to a babysitter in Dragon Ball Super, and that needs to be corrected. Majin Buu also has the potential to absorb other fighters and gain tremendous amount of energy and fighting power from a specific fighter, so I do think that someone like Majin Buu also ought to be utilized. For we all wanted to see Majin Buu fight Botamo, we all wanted to see Majin Buu fight Frost during the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, but instead they underutilized Majin Buu and they did not execute the character for his techniques and his abilities. Keep in mind, Majin Buu is able to not only kill someone by absorbing them, but he can also eat somebody alive, hence why this is called Universe Survival. This is a fight for survival, and Majin Buu possesses qualities about him that can ensure survival on their specific team, of course. Now we have androids 17 and 18. As a separate individual, I do think that they would be eliminated heavily. However, if Android 17 and Android 18 were to work together as a dynamic duo, I do think that amongst 120 fighters, Android 17 and 18 would have a great chance in advancing Universe 7 in this particular multiverse tournament. So I think adding depth to every individual character in this tournament ought to be a thing, because they never truly added any depth to any character other than Goku and Vegeta. So thus far, I do think that they ought to add tag team duos in this tournament, because amongst 120 fighters, we still don't know how long this particular arc is going to last. It can either last throughout the summer, or it just may actually last throughout the year. So if you want to drag the fight on, if you want to go on ahead and marinate the tournament and have every fight mean something, then they ought to allow fighters to select their own teammates, i.e. 2 versus 2. Can you imagine the interesting dynamic in having Piccolo and Gohan fight another team, or having Goku team up with Majin Buu, or having Android 17 team up with Piccolo, i.e. when they fought before in Dragon Ball Z? Wouldn't that be interesting to see? Once foes, now teammates working together. Can you imagine if Gohan and Vegeta work together? Can you imagine if Krillin and Android 18 work together? Can you imagine if father and son, Goku and Vegeta work together? Even having the endless possibility of having Goku and Vegeta work together, i.e. even if Zeno allows fusion, can you imagine how hardcore it would actually be to see a fusion be a part of this tournament? Again, if you're counting the survival of a species and of an entire universe, then you have to do what you have to do in order to survive. So I do think that adding teams rather than having fighters fight individually ought to be a thing, because if you're going to drag this out and have every fight mean something, then allow it to where it's going to be a 2-on-2 rather than a 1v1, because if it stands to be a 1v1, it wouldn't be as meaningful, for the arc is going to be dragging on for years, given the fact that we have 120 fighters in this particular tournament. But even with 120 fighters and multiple gods of destructions, you can't sit there and tell me that every single person there is a goody two-shoes. We're probably going to have war criminals, thieves, pirates, emperors. We're probably going to see a very, very unique dynamic in characters that are going to be casted in this tournament. So I do think another interesting thing that ought to be added into this tournament is depth within the actual characters. That being, if someone decides to do something against the Omni King's rules, either one of two things may happen. Either A, they can actually display the Grand Priestess feats and allow him to show everyone how dangerous he can be if someone crosses the line, and having the Grand Priest destroy someone who tries to intervene, or B, you can have both Omni Kings step in and get rid of the problem together, which is why I do believe that this tournament ought to have a massive wager to it, unlike Universe 6 versus Universe 7, where none of the gods stepped in to actually do something other than Beerus arguing with Champa. I also do believe a very interesting and creative ending ought to happen, instead of having a one-sided, very plain winner of this tournament. Now, some people are speculating that the Omni King just might be faking all of this just to get everyone to fight seriously, but in the manga display for the trailer, we saw an entire what seems to be universe blow up right before Goku, Beerus, and the Supreme Kai's very eyes, which is why I also feel they ought to take away the comedy aspect of this particular arc, with the exception of someone like Master Roshi and perhaps even Krillin and Tien Shinhan, and adding everyone else actually fight for the namesake of their family. You also have to wonder, it's like, what can Master Roshi really do going up against 120 of the top tier fighters of the multiverse system? There's not really much he can do. However, we do have Piccolo, Majin Buu, Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, Android 17, Android 18, and of course perhaps Krillin if you want to count him in this, because he is a very strong human in and of itself. itself. What I also think ought to be added in this tournament is a credible reward. I mean, what's the purpose of having everyone fight in this tournament if there isn't going to be a massive reward behind the victory? I do think that unlike Universe 6 versus Universe 7, where the reward was simply just Dragon Balls summoning the Dragon God Zarama, as cool as that was, they ought to up the ante and have the Omni King present something of credible wager. Are there going to be fighters a part of this tournament that are going to be stronger than people like Hit? Yes. Are there going to be fighters in this tournament stronger than Goku and Vegeta? Yes. The question is, how are they going to go about having Goku and Vegeta, presumably enough, capitalize on ensuring their victory? One possible thing that could play into Dragon Ball Super's next arc is having someone like Goku and Vegeta go past their Super Saiyan Blue limitations and find something that even beyond of a Super Saiyan Blue. Now, I understand having another transformation may seem a little tacky, but thus far we've seen the utilization of Super Saiyan Blue against people like Goku Black, Zamasu, Merge Zamasu, Hit, Golden Frieza, so more so now than ever, I do think it's time for them to step it up and upgrade, either find an ability similar to Super Saiyan Blue, except have it be a different variation, or find a new transformation entirely that takes them to the very pinnacle of becoming a Super Saiyan, which ultimately enough would give them the advantage in fighting other fighters, and alongside even possibly fighting Beerus down the line if they're ever going to go down the route of having Goku have his rematch against Beerus, or even having Vegeta fight Beerus. Either way, having a new transformation, I do believe, especially if they want to sell merchandise, especially if they want to sell toys, I think that more so now than ever, they ought to have one more transformation, if anything, the final transformation of what a Super Saiyan can actually become, that being equipped to Goku and Vegeta, and only them. And I think that only then we will see something gradually improve during Dragon Ball Super, as we're going to get to see new transformations with new hidden abilities that we've never seen before. But again, it's a shot in the dark, and we don't know in which direction they're planning on going in when it comes to Goku and Vegeta Super Saiyan Blue form, but I do think that certain dynamics ought to be included to where we get to see more arcs be added in after this arc is over and done with, because there is no clear-cut indication that this is going to be the final arc of Dragon Ball Super. Could it possibly be? Yes. Is it going to be? Maybe, because we don't really know the direction in what Akira Toriyama and Toei want to do with Dragon Ball Super, so as long as Dragon Ball Super continues to market and bring them money, they will continue the show. But post your comments down below. What exactly do you guys want to see be added into this Universal arc? What are some dynamics that you think ought to be desperately added in terms of character development and writing? And what do you guys think is going to happen in this tournament? Comment down below. Once again, guys, thank you all for watching. If you guys are new to this channel, then be sure to subscribe for more awesome Dragon Ball daily content, discussions, reviews, and gameplay. If you guys enjoyed the review, if you guys enjoyed the discussion, make sure to slap a like on the video, tune in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Take it easy, guys. Peace.